Venus in Capricorn, November 11th through December 6th, 2024. Women standing on business, classic style, maturity in love, beautiful architecture and structures, material girls. These are just a few of the ways that Venus in Capricorn can express on her journey. Hello, my name is Eliane Nicole. I'm your astrologer and tarot reader, and in this video, I am going to talk about Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, as she climbs through the sign of the goat. But first, I want to say, if you're watching this on Instagram, I'm only going to post the first 5 minutes here. The entire video will be available on my YouTube channel, Eliane Nicole. My YouTube channel is my name, Eliane Nicole. Please find me there. I will put a link in the profile bio of my Instagram to get there. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Please hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. Please like, please comment, please share. Helps me grow my community, helps me in the algorithm, helps me grow my business, and puts me in a position to continue to give these free astrological offerings. If you're watching on Instagram, please make sure that you're following astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole. Please like, please comment, please share. It all helps me in the algorithm. It's free for you, and it is very helpful to me. And now, without further ado, I'm going to talk about Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, traveling through the sign of the goat for the next 3 weeks. And so Venus in Capricorn is, she's in the cardinal yin earthy temple of Saturn. So, what makes this particular transit of Venus in Capricorn unique is that Saturn is currently in Pisces. And as Venus begins her journey, Saturn is retrograde in Pisces, but Saturn is going direct November 15th, which will change the whole kind of vibe around what Venus is doing. But in the beginning, there is some reviewing of the past in love and creative collaborations, long-term commitments, things of that nature. Because Venus in Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, there is a focus on long-term commitments, maturity in love, the structures and the stability around romance, beauty, style, all the Venusian types of issues. Now, in people, Venus always represents women and sisters and artists and lovers. In professions, she can signify anyone who, she can signify women leaders, particularly in Capricorn, because that's a leadership sign. But just in general, Venus in profession is stylists or beauticians or, anyone who works with women or, women fields, type of fields. Now, I want to talk about while Venus is in Capricorn, in general, you may see that like women in business or artists are raising their standards, raising their prices. Even in relationships, you can see that people are raising their standards. In fashion, Venus traveling through Capricorn represents a more polished style or, more classic style or conservative or traditional styles. I want to go through the transits but I want to start by saying Venus in Capricorn transit is going to be more personal to you if you are a Libra or Taurus rising, because this means you're a Venus ruled person. If you have Libra or Taurus sun, moon, midheaven, or lots of planets in those signs. This is going to be a more personal transit for you. Obviously, if you're a Capricorn, this is going to be personal because it's going to hit your sun and maybe some of your other planets. And if you don't know where your planets are, where your sun, moon, or rising is, definitely reach out and contact me for a reading. I will put it in the notes how to book a reading with me. I read on Zoom, so I can read for people anywhere in the country and anywhere in the world. Now I want to talk about some of the specific transits that Venus will be making, the specific aspects she will be making while she's in Capricorn this time, because that's what makes this particular journey through Capricorn unique. You know, Venus visits Capricorn once every year and a half or something like that, but what makes it unique is where all of the other planets are positioned, especially her leader, her dispositor, so her ruler, which is Saturn, who's currently in Pisces. Saturn isn't always in Pisces when Venus transits Capricorn. It takes Saturn, you know, some time to get all the way back to Pisces, because Saturn spends 2.5 years in every sign. So Saturn hasn't been in Pisces since the 90s. So anyway, and Pisces and Capricorn are sextile in nature. So this is a fertile Venus for people who are trying to get pregnant or grow anything, whether, you know, this is great for growing businesses, Venus and Capricorn. This is great for, but growing, you know, babies, growing gardens, growing anything, hair, anything that you want to grow. It's a very fertile time while Venus is in this 3-week stretch in Capricorn. Now, one of the first transits that Venus makes as she enters Capricorn is a sextile with Juno, the goddess of marriage. Juno is the wife goddess, and I posted a whole video on Juno traveling through Scorpio, so if you haven't already, go back and watch that video, because that will give you further context about what's going on with Juno. But in general, Juno is in Scorpio, Venus is in Capricorn. That's earth and water. Earth and water together are very fertile to grow things, literally or metaphorically. This aspect happens November 14th and at 4 degrees. So if you have any planets at 4 degrees, it's going to be particularly personal to you. And I do want to talk about in this video a little bit about the personal, but then I also want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world stage. Venus in Capricorn is going to apply specifically to what's going on with our women leaders, women politicians, women leaders, women bosses, and in general, it has a lot to do with women taking charge. But as Venus forms a sextile with Juno, there is an opportunity to form long-term commitments, such as marriage. This is a good aspect for getting engaged. This is a good aspect for married couples to conceive a child. This is an opportunity to sign a long-term creative contract. This is an opportunity for creative collaborators to birth a new project into the world, or conceive of a new project that will grow and flourish over the long term. On November 16th, Venus will be in the bins with the nodes of fate. This is a very karmic choice that Venus has to make. So this can be a karmic choice in our personal lives around the women in our lives, around sisters, around daughters. This can be for women leaders, a very karmic decision that needs to be made. And this decision is involving the Libra axis, the Libra Aries axis, which is, In our personal lives, this is maybe letting go of certain relationships, or else certain patterns or habits in relationships that we want to let go of, to make a new start, to have a new direction. This can be a decision about relationships versus self, like, and, you know, on the world stage, this can be kind of like where a woman leader has to make a decision between like peace treaties or alliances that need to be let go of, or versus this new path to the future. You know, the Aries Libra axis is the axis of me versus we. It's the axis of peace versus war. It's the axis of, you know, marriage versus being single. You know, it's the axis of people pleasing versus pleasing the self. And so all these are the, this is the line of where a karmic choice or decision needs to be made by women, sisters, daughters, women leaders during this aspect on 11/16. And the nodes of fate have so much to do with karma and dharma. If you're interested in knowing more about this, this is at the 5th degree, so it'll be personal, very personal for people who have planets at 5 degrees, anywhere from 4 to 6 degrees really, but exactly at 5. On November 21st, Venus is square Vesta, the asteroid goddess Vesta, who's currently in Libra. So I did a whole video on Vesta traveling through Libra. If you haven't already, go back and watch that video, because that will give you more context to what this transit is about. But Venus squaring Vesta, just a few things that I can say about it, is a crisis of faith in long-term commitments or around women leaders. It can also bring up a question of devotion or loyalty around women, sisters, daughters, or long-term commitments or alliances or creative collaborations. On November 2nd, Venus in Capricorn will be sextile Saturn in Pisces. Now Saturn has gone direct, so this definitely has to do with the work that we are doing emotionally, spiritually. This is about emotional intelligence. This is about emotional maturity. This presents an opportunity for a long-term commitment. This represents an opportunity for an engagement in love or creativity in our personal lives. It can represent the beginning of a long-term commitment or a long-term creative contract. In the collective, this could be a woman leader stepping into a long-term position of spiritual or religious authority. In creativity, this is this even speaks to like architecture for me, like women in architecture, women receiving you know, attention for their architecture, either literally or metaphorically. Venus in Capricorn, sextile Saturn in Pisces, looks like, you know, beautiful structures being built, you know. On November 25th, Black Moon Lilith in Libra is squaring off with Venus in Capricorn. So this could literally mean that women leaders are squaring off, a conflict or a challenge between women leaders, or it could just be a conflict or challenge around women leadership in general. Black Moon Lilith brings up the dark feminine. Sometimes that is literally black women, but sometimes it is, you know, the darker topics around issues for women. So that is like, you know, abortion, domestic abuse, rape, domestic violence, you know, crime around women, you know, things like that. So, you know, in terms of like leadership, we can see the dark side of women who are vying for power, you know, the dark side of ambition or status or reputation. And so it can bring up the shadow of women in power. This can bring up on a more like personal level, you know, Venus squaring Lilith is like gold diggers, you know. This can bring up the idea of dark materialism around women. It can bring up feminine rage or anger or the darker topics around women's sexuality. On November 27th, Venus in Capricorn is squaring off with Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries. So this can be triggering a deep wound in long-term commitments. It can also bring up health issues for women around skin, teeth, bones, knees, even the head, migraines, and it can bring up things like inflammation in the body, rashes or burns. This can also bring up women experiencing a conflict or challenge or wound around a mentor. On December 2nd, Venus in Capricorn will trine Uranus in Taurus. This is a pleasant surprise. This is a unexpected material gift, money or otherwise. It can also be an unexpected twist of events for the better. And this is usually experienced in a very tangible way when both Venus and Uranus are in earth signs. So this looks like an unexpected twist of events around love, beauty, romance, art, style. And this can be, you know, again, in tangible ways. So it can be unexpected things around money or resources in these areas. Even it can be food, because sometimes Taurus brings up food. And on December 4th, Venus is in a sextile with Neptune and Pisces. Again, this is very, very fertile energy. This is great energy to bring structure to the dream, to bring the dream into reality. There's an opportunity to realize the dream here. There's also, again, this is very fertile for people trying to conceive. This is very fertile energy to grow businesses, to grow gardens, to grow hair, to grow babies, to grow families, to grow anything really. And it's an opportunity to fulfill romantic dreams or to fulfill creative dreams. It can also bring very sensual, transcendental, sexual experiences as well. On December 6th, Venus is conjunct Ceres, the goddess of agriculture. But Ceres can also bring up, yes, she has to do with food and she has to do with how we nourish ourselves. But she's very connected to the mythology around Demeter and Persephone. So sometimes she can bring up the darker issues around motherhood. And this can have to do with issues around rejection, abandonment, kidnapping or abduction, custody battles. And this can also bring up issues around food, how we nourish ourselves, how we feed ourselves, how we nourish ourselves or others. And this is the last aspect she makes right before she moves into Aquarius, where she will immediately meet with Pluto, god of the underworld. So the Persephone, Demeter, Hades mythology is very strong around this transit. And if you don't know, Hades kidnapped Persephone and brought her down into the underworld. And this made Demeter, Ceres, very angry. And so she made the earth barren for a certain time of the year where you couldn't grow food or crops. And she made a deal with Hades that her daughter could come back to her. And so during the time of year where her daughter comes back is when we can grow things and where there's abundance in crops and food. And when she goes down to meet Hades in the underworld, that is when, you know, the crops and the food are barren. And so this mythology is very strong around the time that Venus in Capricorn is conjunct Ceres in Capricorn, because she's also going to be conjoining Pluto. So that theme is right there in that astrology. And so we're going to be seeing those themes present either in our personal lives, if we have any planets at the 29th degree of any of the cardinal signs, but also on the world stage in the headlines. Yeah, so stay tuned for when I do the Venus entering Aquarius video, and I talk about more about Venus conjunct Pluto, which is a big aspect coming up. But for now, I'm going to close this video, and thank you for joining me. Please contact me for a reading. Again, I will put how to contact me in the notes on YouTube. And yeah, I can read for people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, because I read on Zoom. It would be my joy and pleasure to read for you. Have a wonderful Venus and Capricorn transit. Thank you for joining me.